I've always believed that with elephants you reap what you sow, and if you treat them with the same tender, loving care that they would have got from their own elephant family, you will get their love and respect in return, and that is the reward that will come to you. To actually be accepted by an elephant as a true and trusted friend is a very enormous privilege. And our keepers know that. They've raised these elephants in the nursery, they sleep with them at night, feed them. They're with them until they go wild. They walk with them in the bush. The elephants will protect them. You know, they really are sort of part of the family. The elephants have dominated the 40 years of the Trust because it's such a long-term project. And just like your human children, even when they're grown and living wild, if they have a problem, they come back. You know, my parents always told us that wild animals don't belong. They're only on loan for as long as they need help, and that you must always be unselfish enough to give them freedom, and so they can lead a wild life, which is their birthright. Of course, when you raise an orphaned animal, you start understanding the body language, how it feels and thinks. You know it much more intimately than you would if you were just observing the wild herds. My passion for elephants came when we went to Tsavo. David was given Tsavo East because the trustees in those days recognized that here was someone that would be capable of taming that wilderness. Before that, he'd just finished the war, where he was, as I say, the youngest major in the King's African Rifles, commanded that battalion both in Ethiopia and Burma. He had a very commanding presence around him all the time. I worked alongside him in every way. We had orphaned elephants in those days. That's where I really began to understand the nature of elephants. I fell in love with David and he fell in love with me, and he was my soulmate. David and I had an absolutely blissfully happy married 17 years. After David's death in 1977, I wanted to, and so did David's friends, want to continue his legacy, to look after as much as we could of wild places and the wild inhabitants. And that's what motivated the establishment of the David Sheldrick Wildlife Trust in memory of him.
Please get away. Can you do it? Yes. Just a big photograph. Colonies flying.
By that time, the poaching became very, very serious, both in Tsavo and countrywide, in fact. And the population of elephants, which was estimated to be 45,000 in the ecosystem, which is twice the size of the park itself, 16,000 square miles, dropped from an estimated 45,000 to just 6,000. There was a real massacre of elephants going on at that time. Quite honestly, the situation looked pretty hopeless. But, you know, one can't give up as long as there's some elephants alive, and we had, of course, the orphans to think about. And, you know, one has to do one's best. That's all one can do. We started off with just me and my daughter, you know, trying to raise the first few elephants. And in fact, the first elephant slept in our bedroom. And then some kind soul came along and offered to build a stable for us. So, you know, that's how it all started.
Und was hast du dann kaufen?
Every 3 hours, day and night. When you raise an elephant and you know that elephant's going to be living wild probably 50, 60, 70 years, you have to see the big picture. It's no good just raising the elephant and tipping it back into the wild without doing your best to keep it and its wild friends safe in the natural habitat that it's going to be living in. Raising the orphans is just one aspect of the trust. We do a lot more beside that. For instance, in Savo we have 4 aircraft and soon going to be 2 helicopters that patrol the skies every single day. They report any illegal activities that are going on and just try and keep Savo as safe as possible. We work very, very closely with Kenya Wildlife Service, which is the authority in charge of all wildlife in the country. We have 10 field ground teams that work with KWS, picking up snares and arresting poachers that they come across during the course of their patrols. And another aspect of the trust is protecting wild habitats. We will pay a local community to actually look after that wild habitat, not poach the elephants, so that they can become stewards of their own environment. We're creating new conservation areas. We're building eco-lodges to drive the tourist industry upon which the national parks depend. We've laid hundreds of kilometres of fences to reduce human-wildlife conflict, and we're placing boreholes to bring water back to stressed ecosystems within the national parks. We have 4 mobile veterinary units based in strategic elephant habitats, one of which is in Savo. And these, between them all, since they've been operational, which is now about 10 years, have saved the lives of over 2,000 wild elephants. And these are elephants with poison arrow wounds, spear wounds, bullet wounds, and none of them would have lived without intervention.
Shukuru. Namba shukuru, 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 shukuru. Sokote. It takes a long time to have a good relationship with these elephants, to make sure that you are accepted to be part of their family. Sword wild elephant here. The wild elephant is a bit shy. You can tell by the way she's behaving. Not sure what's happening here. You know, for her it's unbelievable for seeing our colleagues actually interacting with humans. Because for the wild elephants, they understand that humans are the greatest enemies of elephants. So she can't understand how actually these orphans could be interacting with these humans. I've been working in Dumba for the last 13 years now. During that time, I've seen many orphans join the world. Some of these former orphans, they've been coming with their own young little babies. It was yesterday at around 11, a time for mud bath, when all of a sudden, when we were waiting for the orphans, Mulika emerged with a tiny baby. Bring the baby for the keepers to see. It was so fantastic. Everyone was excited, and we were happy because it shows that we are growing.
I think humans have to understand that the world wasn't created just for humans, and understand that everything that is indigenous on this planet is meant to be here for the well-being of the earth as a whole. With all the threats facing elephants today, it would be easy perhaps to lose hope in these difficult times. But we've seen difficult times before in the early days and come through it. We in the conservation world have campaigned very hard for the protection of elephants for many, many years, and we're beginning to see results at last. For centuries, ivory has been considered something of huge value and prestige, but things are changing now. It's shameful to possess ivory nowadays. Ivory is being burnt in huge piles all around Africa. Many markets are closing down, including the biggest ones in China and also the United States.
We're not only crushing ivory, we're crushing the bloody ivory market.
The message has been received, and it seems that people have had enough of this senseless killing. I see a lot of hope in the next generation. For instance, Angela, my daughter, and son-in-law Robert, her husband, who will carry on the legacy. My two grandsons as well. Taru is already a pilot on patrol, and Roan is equally as passionate too. This work is what drives us. Our mission is to fight for the elephants, and it's something that we always will do.